We're very blessed to be in this time where communication's so different.
Oh, I
It's like
totally agree.
if you watch Seinfeld, and it's funny because like Seinfeld's like not a really a dated show, but it is dated because it's one of those shows where if you just had a cell phone or a pager or some way to text, 90% of the stuff would be like solved.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like the
I
craziest thing.
completely agree. I haven't watched Seinfeld a whole lot, but I do love the B movie.
Yeah, I'm old enough to actually watch it while it was being released on Thursdays before we go out.
Oh,
So it's
that's
like,
awesome.
yeah, we do it at college. We'd watch it on Thursday nights, and then we go out to the bars and stuff on Thursday nights. So
Cool. I can't help but notice your Jimmy in the background, and
yeah, you got Jimmy. Oh, hold on.
Oh
Let's see.
yeah.
Which way am I going here? All right, let me go this way. So I got Jimmy this way, and then I got Marley.
Marley. Yep,
I got Billy Joel over there.
awesome.
I got Muhammad Ali over there, and then I got
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali with the Beatles right there.
What?
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
what?
so there's
Never seen
Muhammad
that
Ali
picture.
punching. There's Muhammad Ali punching the Beatles.
That is
The four Beatles.
that is awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
I'll
you seen
send
the
you a
Bob Marley
picture of
movie?
it. Is there a new one or a recent one?
Yes, I think it just came out like a month ago.
I have not. No, have you guys seen it yet?
I have not.
I haven't either. I've just
We
heard
should maybe
reviews.
do a Discord on that. Maybe we should all watch and do a movie review or something.
That would
That could
be
be fun.
awesome. That would be
Let's do a
so
live
cool.
watch or something. That'd be fun. Yeah, I've never done
Yeah.
something like that. That'd be fun.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, let's book it.
Sweet.
All right.
Sounds good. Yeah, Scott, we were talking on email about hopefully being on his podcast at some point. He's got 2 podcasts. That'd be cool if you talk about that for a second.
Oh yeah. So basically, I've got 2 podcasts. One is the original was called Beer Googles with 2
I
O's and
saw
2
that.
G's.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's goggles, but it's actually Googles.
Because
The
you're
whole
looking stuff
point
up,
is-
right?
Right. We get drunk and we
Okay.
look up random stuff on the internet because when you had beer goggles, that's what you did when you got drunk.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
that was our joke with that one. So that one's like a pop culture one. It's kind of simmered off because it was with a co-host that does one of my best friend, and he moved, so we kind of just stopped doing that. But then the other one's Knocked Conscious, and that one's a little bit more serious, and we do a lot of like documentary breakdowns or speak with one-on-one with interviews with people like Hubble telescope. The guy who took the first picture with the Hubble telescope.
Yeah.
And the guy who was the Howard Bloom was the music producer, not the producer, but he was the PR man for Michael Jackson, for example.
That's
And,
awesome.
Yeah. So like I don't know if you saw one recently, but like are you familiar with the song Teenage Dirtbag? It got like a lot of
Yes.
playlists.
Yes,
am.
yes.
I had a 2-hour conversation with Brandon Brown of Wheatus. So
That's
Wow.
crazy. How
so
do you
literally, I
score
mean,
those?
and we're talking music.
Yeah.
We don't talk. It wasn't like it's crazy how the conversation is. And it's a guy I've never met before. I just sent an email to their contact. Literally, I said, "Hey, would you be up for a conversation?" He said, "Sure, let me work on it." They went to England. They came back. We hooked it up. And it's like the
Just
guy
like
never,
that.
it's like we never talked before. And it was like the most smooth conversation.
That's incredible.
It's amazing when you just ask people how open they are to talk. It's surprising.
Okay, cool. That's a good tip, honestly. Like I was kind of hesitant to reach out to people. We used the Matchmaker app as you were doing, and that's worked well because everybody was
Sounds like Ashley Madison, like I'm cheating on my girlfriend. It's called
Yeah.
Matchmaker. So like I sorry to interrupt, but I got on that thing and I told my girlfriend about it. I'm like, I just met someone on the podcast through Matchmaker, and she's like, Matchmaker?
What?
Yeah.
So just an aside, they should work on the branding on that a little bit.
I
Yes.
completely agree.
So go ahead.
But everybody on that app is either wanting to find a host or wanting to be on a show. So I was happy to do that. We got a few scores on there, but no, we'll totally have to just send some random emails, see what happens.
You have to just do it. I mean, go on Twitter, go on the social media, and just you don't have to attack. You engage. Like there's like a line between engagement and like stalking, obviously.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If they come across your feed and you see something, you can comment on it. Just comment. Don't force something.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a fight nothing, force nothing kind of guy. Kind of gotta take it as it is, I guess.
Yeah, completely fair.
But just reach out. I mean, you'd be like I said. I've had some really high level conversations with people I would never guess would even wouldn't have any thought to be with me or to hang out, anyway. So
Good advice. We appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. So so how's your journey been on that? You've gotten some guests and you've been on some and they've been on some of yours?
So we have it all set up. So we've done seasons for our podcast. So we did season 1 and we were just doing discussions on what we thought about different bands, how they started, some hot topics, like, we actually haven't released any about Taylor Swift, but that kind of deal, that kind of gist. And then season 2, we have 8 interviews lined up. There's 5 this week
8.
and three throughout March. There's a couple higher end singers, and Jeffrey James is one of them that we're looking at. He's a pop singer out of Nashville. A couple hip hop, couple Christian singers, couple fans.
People from France, right?
Oh yeah, we have a French singer on Friday.
Yeah.
And
cool.
then
what any hip hop names or?
Have you heard of a lady named Kingsley?
I've heard of the name.
Okay, so
I know the music, but I heard of the name.
She's out of Chicago and Atlanta, if I'm correct.
Atlanta's a huge music and the hip hop. I'm a huge Ludacris fan, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
I've got it. I literally have A to Z. I was a DJ. I sang in a cover band for a handful of years.
I was really curious to ask about you and the cover band. So
yeah,
what's up with that?
So it's really weird. I went to school to be a pilot. So
all right.
I went to a place called Embry-Riddle. There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Aeronautical University
in Florida,
and
right?
There's one in Florida and there's one in Arizona as well. So I went to the lesser known one in Arizona because I figured if I was in Florida, I probably wouldn't graduate.
Fair.
So I thought I go to a place where the average age is like 55. So it's like old town with like really small college in it. So I graduated from that and I started pizza delivery to subsidize my flying. So as a pilot, you can teach people to fly or you can do sightseeing.
Okay.
And I was getting paid, no joke. This is 1999, 1998. They were giving me $8 an hour to fly a plane.
Wow.
That's not a bad gig.
Didn't count the time on the ground, only the time the engines were running. So it was only the engine time.
Okay.
So all the pre-flight, all the other stuff ahead of it, you didn't get compensated for. But you did it to build hours because hours, if you had to pay, you're paying $50, $60 an hour. So there's an inherent value there, obviously.
Right.
So I was doing a couple sightseeing flights out of Northeast Philly and I was flying one day and they wanted to sell a plane. So I ferried it from Northeast Philly to somewhere in West Virginia, going over the Smoky Mountains somewhere in February. A piece of the nose cone broke off in flight.
Oh my gosh.
And I was able to get it to nurse it to the airport, but I thought I was going to have to like literally land it under power. I get to land and like a propeller has like a nose cone. It was like a third of it had cracked off. So it was more like the housing, but I'll tell you, as a young pilot, I was pretty shaken.
That'd have to be terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty freaky. But then like the next flight I had, I was alone and I missed a plane came out of nowhere and almost hit me, missed me by about 20 feet, 10, 20.
Oh my gosh.
I heard the engine over mine.
What kind of
like
plane
an
was it?
82-year-old guy that shouldn't even been flying in the first place. And he got his flight license because he knew the guy. And I almost punched him out. I literally landed and almost went to his plane. I was like,
that's a reasonable reaction.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. So while that was going on, I always liked to sing. So I grew up I was actually asked to join the Philadelphia Boys Choir growing up.
Okay, cool.
But I played sports. So I never actually did it. I never actually applied, audition or anything. So I was asked to audition, but I never did it. So it's not like I was part of it, but that was fun. So I was in choir and stuff growing up. So I answered a newspaper ad, and after those 2 flying experiences, I was pretty shaken. I was like, I don't know if flying is going to be for me. I'm not going to lie. So I answered this ad, and it was a brand new band that was just starting, and it was at some, storage unit. They were all just setting up. So I went there. We did a little mini audition, then we started doing it. So I just started from there. Yeah.
Did you
just
sing?
booking your own place.
Instruments?
I don't play an instrument. I have zero skill, but I do sing. So I'm happy
Awesome.
to share stuff with you. I've got a bunch of recordings, but I do a lot of like acoustic singing type. I'm more clean type singer than like a rough or anything like rock.
Okay, cool. You mentioned R&B, hip hop earlier. What's your favorite genre?
Oh man, I love it all though. It would have to be soul R&B, probably 60s soul. So Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Temptations.
Very good.
Otis Redding. Sam Cooke was my absolute favorite. I mean, I have a memory. My family's from Germany. I remember in 1985 taking a trip to Germany for a few weeks just to visit family or whatever. And Genesis of Invisible Touch just came out on 33 vinyl.
Yeah.
So I put that on, and then we had Sam Cooke, and we were playing "What a Wonderful World" with Sam Cooke. It was like we go back.
That's awesome.
Like, I just remember like weird memories of stuff like that. So music was always big. I mean, we lived like an hour and a half from the shore, so the Jersey Shore was always a big thing. So you always had oldies. My mom saw little Stevie Wonder at he was 14 years old when she saw him.
Wow.
Like, cool stuff like that.
Cool. What do you think about the vinyl game coming back? I'm curious what you have to say, Scott, too, because vinyls are coming back, at least with our generation. There's a lot of people that say vinyl should die. There's a lot of people that say it should come back. I think that it adds to discography of different artists. It keeps that the lineage and the history and the true meaning behind music. But yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Good, Scott.
I mean, my dad's pretty old, so we got a lot of vinyls hanging around, and from what I can tell,
I bet I'm older than your dad.
My dad's 1959.
Oh, okay, no, never mind.
No, he's up there.
I'm one of those old kids too. So you're a young kid from an older father too?
Yes.
Okay.
I got a lot of crap. My sister's even younger. Okay, anyway. So vinyls are, I don't know, he's always complaining about how it sounds so much better from the vinyl than it does any app, any sort of, adapter you use through your phone. It always sounds cleaner through the vinyl. And that's one of those things where I don't know if that's true or if it's like kind of like a placebo effect. Like, yeah, now that you mention it, it does sound better. I've never noticed it, but if there's any reason to keep vinyls around, I think sound quality is a pretty good reason.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. That's a good point. So I would urge you to listen to, I think they did a breakdown, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Okay.
Or Nevermind. I think it was the entire album.
Yeah.
And basically, are you guys familiar with how digital and analog work? I don't want to mansplain stuff, but
you mean like how they record it?
If you go back into old recordings, you've got your sine wave and your cosine wave, and it's a natural thing, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting about digital is precise.
Right.
It's exactly what you put in. What happens with analog is it rounds out the tops and the lows of the sine and the cosine curve. That's allegedly where you pick up the highs and lows. So if you ever listen to like an album, you'll hear more of the ends, like hi-hats, you'll hear cymbals, things like that. That might be more pronounced and more, just clearer, brighter, and stick out more. Huh. The second part is also you have to look at how it's recorded and put onto the vinyl. Right. If there's a digital process anywhere along the line from the master to the vinyl, you've now lost all the ability of vinyl in the first place.
Okay.
Right. So once you switch the format over to another format, going back doesn't bring back what you lost. You lost it by switching over. Gone.
Right.
So you have to go analog all the way through, which I don't think they do anymore. Or I don't know many places that do record analog all the way through. So really that's where the benefit would be. Now, outside of that, you do get a warmth of the scratch.
Yes.
You do get that dust in the pickup. And actually, it's funny you guys mentioned vinyl because I had this idea. You guys are college kids. I hope this maybe it gets patented or something. Why don't we have a light reading record needle? Why isn't there a laser that can read the grooves in a record? Because it wouldn't wear out the record and it would precisely pick up the groove. It would never wear out the groove or the needle.
Dang, yeah.
And I'm wondering if there would be some kind of laser that could maybe run along the guide grooves, and then you translate it that way, right? Now it would be digital, So I wonder if it has to be a physical contact.
Yeah,
between
that'd be
something, so.
interesting. And then you'd like my thing with vinyls is the nostalgia. I know that's kind of that's one piece of the puzzle, right? But no, there's something about taking the record out of a sleeve, looking at the album cover, flipping through the book if there's a book in there, and then throwing it on the phono and listening. And
There's art.
I love that part of it.
There's art to it. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
I mean, the artwork is, and that's the thing. I think what the generations miss is artwork.
Yes.
Having a physical medium to touch. Like you talk NFTs, and I remember when NFTs came out, and I'm an early adopter. The TV behind me I spent $3,800 on when it first came out, and it's super thin and whatever. I get it. But like NFTs, I collected cards growing up. So it was always like I had to have the tactile.
Right.
I had to touch it, you know? And maybe it's a little different for books because books are heavy and whatever, but like something about turning the page and the smell of the book, the paper.
Yes.
Just does something to you that's different than what you do when you're just absorbing information. You're adding senses to it.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So I do like the warmth of vinyl. I actually have a vinyl behind outside. I could grab it, but it's funny because I've got Queen's Greatest Hits, which you guys talked about. Freddie Mercury's mustache.
Yes. Yes, that was a fun one to talk about.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Our logo there, the character is actually named Spin for the spin of a record. And then we have another character named Scratch for the scratch of a record.
Scratch the chicken. Yep.
Yeah.
I like it. You should get the little groove, the insert, that little insert for the 45.
Oh, yes.
Like a third little character.
Yes. That would be awesome.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get into music? Okay, so cover band wise. So that was how I got started. Then was interesting, like I actually got to join a cover band, and it's almost impossible to believe, but I was in it for about 2 months. I kind of had like a little trial. There's if you look it up, you can go on on YouTube and just type in VH1 Cover Wars.
Okay.
And type in the band Jumper.
Okay.
And there was this TV show or reality show on VH1 called Cover Wars, and they had different cover bands compete. And they had a championship, and the winner got a bunch of equipment and got to sing with the lead singer Fuel.
Awesome. Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
To watch that. Yeah.
I was in the band while that was going on, but I was not part of the competition because I wasn't with them yet.
Dang.
So it's like really crazy because like I was right in this weird spot where I was still with I had just left my band and I hadn't really had the reputation yet, so it didn't last as long as I would have liked. But obviously it was cool to have the trial. But like it's kind of like my claim to fame is like I was in the band that won the only season of VH1's Cover Wars.
That's pretty cool.
And the band's called Jumper, and they're still together.
Jumper.
Yeah, there's two of them are still in the band that I remember.
Do you still talk to him? Still know him?
I don't actually. No, I mean, I moved away. So, but the Philadelphia cover band scene was really big. I mean, everybody knew everybody. I had some pretty cool stories too. I mean, that's one of them. But my favorite story. You guys like sports? You guys into sports?
Yes,
totally.
I do.
Okay. So, I'm a Philadelphia Flyers fan. So, I was in Philly, and we were playing a place called Finnegan's Wake, and the place holds maybe 1,000 people total in and out throughout the night. A couple thousand throughout a night. So it's a pretty decent place.
Yeah.
So we're up on stage, and the Flyers are on a road trip to like Canada and stuff. And we're just playing, and all of a sudden I look, and 4 Flyers walk in. And we're talking like Rick Tocchet, John LeClaire, Simone Gagne, and Justin Williams. Now, these guys all won Stanley Cups or have all been like high-end hockey players, right?
Right.
I'm like, what the heck are they doing here? Well, it turned out they were all injured, so they never didn't go on the trip. But it was Justin Williams. Yeah, so they got to stay behind, right? So they were hanging out in Philadelphia. So they come in the bar. It turns out it's Justin Williams' 19th birthday. And he is getting hammered.
Wow.
The bar doesn't exist anymore, so I don't feel bad talking about it. But I remember we were used to do like, let's go Flyers. We used to do like this chant, right? So we come up to him after like one of the breaks. And I'm like, would you guys do a song with us? So Justin Williams and Simone Gagne came up and sang Nookie from Limp Bizkit.
Wow. No way.
Now, it sucks because we don't have camera phones yet. There is no recording of that. And watching Simone Gagne, who's like a French Canadian, sing it, he's like, I did it all for the Nook. And it's like the funniest, like it was so much fun. But like having these two hockey players who were like superstars just come up on stage and just be like humans. You know what I mean? It's like
that's awesome.
Total humanity of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then I've had like conversation with Brian Propp, who had like 1,000 points in the NHL. So like I've had some cool little crossover stuff with that too. So
that's awesome.
So the cover band was fun. And then I did an acoustic thing with a buddy for a while. And then I did DJing, and then I moved out to Arizona.
Okay. You mentioned how tight Philadelphia is with cover bands. So Purdue University, we have underground bands here. I think there's probably like 30 big bands, and they all have Spotifys. They're all seen, go to the concerts regularly. And some of them do original music. Some of them do cover music. It's so cool to be in that culture though. And everybody knows each other.
Yeah. Do you guys do anything with that? Or do you guys like,
we have an interview coming up with a couple of the singers from the bands. We go enjoy the music, go enjoy the concerts. They're all in basements. So like when you get some metal concerts, you get some moshing, you know.
Yeah.
They're all themed
part of the
holidays. Yes.
Totally. I was during the Pantera days.
Yes. Totally.
When this love breaks into that, you get this love, and everybody just like starts swinging.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Cool. Have you guys thought about doing like reporting on the shows or something, or doing like a little blog or something?
Kind of. So that's pretty saturated around here. There's a couple of I don't know what to call them, groups maybe that have the blogs, that have the scenes when they're playing, when they're not playing. So I like nobody's actually doing the one-on-one stuff with the band members though. So I think that'd be fun to get to know them.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you guys will have a great time with that, especially with your the way you guys get along. So
yeah, definitely.
Cool. What about you guys? What's your favorite genres?
Oh, we're kind of split, but we like the same stuff still. We've been talking about this a lot recently, actually. I'm into rock. I love rock. Anything classic rock. I like grunge, especially. A little bit of that psychedelic rock, indie rock, Grateful Dead, Pearl Jam. Then I like this stuff that's Rolling Stones, Queen, and then I dabble in hip hop. Yeah.
How about you, Scott?
I'm more hip hop, and then a dabble in rock. I'd say though, we probably like rock more than most 20, 21-year-olds.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's just hip hop's definitely the priority for myself, and then I got Kendrick Lamar posters all over my room.
Very cool.
Can't really see them, but I got all
Nice.
6 albums just on the wall, and then I think I got Damn right there. So I need to get some vinyls.
I just listened to Frank Ocean's Orange Theory.
Yesterday.
Just listened through it. It's just like, it's cool. You're like, man, that song, Pilot Jones, like, damn, that is a good song.
Yes.
And you hear like individual songs, you're just like, man, that is good.
Yeah, totally.
I definitely have some bands you probably never heard of that I probably want to introduce you to for sure.
Oh, sweet. What are some?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you might have heard of them, but it's really interesting. Have you heard a guy named John Bellion?
Yeah.
He did a song called All Time Low. He had like one song on the radio. Okay. So here's my John Bellion story. I go to a lot of concerts. My first concert, I think I was like 11.
Awesome.
My brother was 14. So it was like my brother's first concert, but I got dragged along. And you might like it, Lee, because it was the Moody Blues.
Okay, cool.
It was my first concert. It was the Moody freaking Blues.
That's awesome. My first concert was Alan Jackson, so it was country.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Scott? What was yours?
It was St. John, which was rap, a smaller rapper, but it was still fun. And then we're going to Greta Van Fleet.
We're going to Greta this summer.
A month or two.
Very cool. Awesome.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I'll be joining Judas Priest here soon too, which I'm excited about.
You're a Judas Priest fan?
Yeah.
Are you on Twitter at all, or X or whatever?
No, we've thought about getting on Twitter though.
Connect with my buddy that's in your Googles.
Oh, really?
Literally, he follows Iron Maiden everywhere.
Awesome.
I bet you'd love to have I don't know if he'd do a conversation, but I'm if you're probably talking Judas Priest,
worth a shot.
Judas Priest.
We have a whole
he's so much fun, dude.
on
My buddy's awesome. I don't want to speak for him. I'm just saying he loves that type of music.
Cool.
He's a metalhead for sure.
Judas Priest is so interesting because they don't have a single band member now that was in the band originally, which just blows my mind.
Real interesting, isn't it?
Because most bands die if that happens, you know. Somebody leaves and then they're like, we're done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. So let me get back to John Bellion. So it's January of 2020. Now he had a song that was out on the radio, and I'm a fan of his. And he was doing some Jingle Ball thing, but it fell through. So he said he'd come back and do some kind of acoustic set. And I'm like, you got to listen to this guy acoustic. John Bellion acoustic. Just type that in YouTube and you will just like, the guy's voice is ridiculous.
Okay.
So he's doing the acoustic thing and it's awesome. And he goes, all right, guys, I need you to put your phones down. I got this song that I'm working on, blah, blah, blah. And he does a song. Now this is January 2020, right before COVID. This is like the last concert that I went to before COVID shut down, because I had another one after that got canceled. I remember that. And so we come home and we're just listening. We're like, wow, this stuff was really good. A couple months later, we hear it on the radio. And we're like, this song sounds really familiar. Wait a minute. Blah, blah, blah. John Bellion. It's Justin Bieber's Holy.
Really?
Wow.
He literally wrote Holy, and he wrote like half of that album. So John Bellion also wrote Trumpets with Jason Derulo.
Yes, yes.
And it's so funny because like I do that with music. Like if you probably do it with music where you're like, I hear this song and it sounds a lot like this song, and you kind of connect the dots.
Yeah.
So I heard this John Bellion song once, and I'm like, I looked at my girlfriend, and I didn't even know that he was connected. And I go, Jason Derulo sang this song. I bet you'd be in the top pop hits. And then it turns out he did Trumpets with him. So it's like you knew that the sound sonically matched exactly what, it works. You know what I mean? So then I started listening. It's like watching John Bellion work like a room. He's got some live stuff he did when COVID was going on, cave studios and stuff. It's like, that's a guy that is just really into everything. And he's really good.
That reminds me of, have you heard about Silver Springs in Fleetwood Mac?
I avoid Fleetwood Mac like the plague, but that's not their fault. It's only Stevie Nicks' fault. I only blame Stevie. No, but please share.
No, that's fair.
Tell me about Silver Spring. I remember Fleetwood Mac from before. They were a huge like jazz type band. It's very interesting how much
we talked about that. Bluesy kind of band. But there's a lot of songs like this. When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars and Flowers with Miley Cyrus.
Flowers. That's what oh my God. That Flowers one. I'm like, it's Bruno Mars 2.0. Why is this a hit? Why is this a hit?
But you know the story behind it.
No.
Okay, so Miley Cyrus dated one of the brothers, the brother of Thor. Anybody?
Chris Hendrickson. They were married, actually.
Yes, they were married.
Chris Hendrickson, the other guy. Yeah.
Yes.
The Hunger Games guy.
Yes. So they were married, and stuff happened. They had a house together. It burnt down in a fire. In the California wildfires, and eventually they split, right? So in their favorite song was When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars. So Miley Cyrus went and wrote a song called Flowers specifically in response to her ex-husband's favorite song, just to punch one in his face, and I thought that was so cool. Bear. Yes, totally. And that's another like Silver Springs, Stevie Nicks. She was in a relationship with the bassist of Fleetwood.
Yeah,
Bernie, right?
Yeah. So he was in with all of them. Weren't they all like in just some big whatever love fest, like whatever?
Yes, they were. But specifically Bernie and Stevie were in a relationship, and he kept cheating on her, and she was pissed off about it. So she wrote Silver Springs, and all the lyrics, if you watch the live music videos, just line up with his uncomfort and the story of their relationship, which I thought was kind of funny. I like those little stories that you don't hear too often, but you're in the songs. So
yeah, well, I mean, think about like You're So Vain, right? Carly Simon.
Yes.
Still trying to figure out who that's about, right? And
will we ever know?
Allegedly, someone like offered some charity some money, and they signed a non-disclosure, and they were told who actually it's about.
No
she
way.
got to tell them who it was about. Yeah, it was like years ago. It was some for some charity thing. It was like, that's cool.
That is pretty cool.
Fun.
Huh.
But yeah, there's music's a beautiful thing, and it's like the more pain you have, the better the music comes out.
Yeah,
that is an connection. I mean,
like Kanye.
Happy music's great, but come on. I'm sorry. You give me Pharrell's. Pharrell. First of all, Pharrell is an amazing artist, but Happy is the biggest piece of crap
example.
Song
it is such a bad
ever
song.
Heard. It is. The guy has synesthesia, and he comes up with Happy.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy sees color or hears color or something. It's like the guy. Have you guys heard about this?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got synesthesia where like he hears colors. It's like you're that gifted, and you come up with Happy.
I mean, it did well.
It did great.
Yeah, but it's. Yeah, but what doesn't that actually speak to like the
that's
basicness
true
of it?
That's true. Yes. Yeah. It's just like
I know I'm a little music snob, but you know what it is? It's because I didn't discover them. That's why I'm mad. Because I didn't.
That's why.
So John Bellion's one of them that I would love to promote. The second guy I would definitely want. He's actually out of Atlanta. His name's David Ryan Harris.
I have not heard
his voice. Is absolute gold. It is. He does. If you look up like on YouTube, you watch him do like a cover of. He does like a male version of Adele's. When they coming up at the door. So I wish you well.
Oh, okay.
The one song where somewhere I wish you well or whatever. Someone's gonna love you or
yeah.
Someone like you. Someone like you.
Okay. Someone like you. Okay.
Yeah. Someone like you. So he does like a male, but if you hear him just singing that, you could just tell the quality of his voice. And he does this thing with like a band called Scary Pockets where they do like funky, like a little bit more funk type stuff. So they funk up a lot of his music. I'm not as much of a fan personally because it's a style thing because I'm more of a vocal guy, but his vocal stuff when just him and a guitar, there's anything. I can put that guy's voice up against anyone's out there, and it's just absolute pure gold.
That's impressive. When I think of people's voices, I always think back to Freddie Mercury. His mouth structure and all that, and how many people told him to fix his teeth, but he was so scared that if he fixed his teeth, the sound would change.
His mouth wouldn't be as open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just so interesting to me. So
Streisand did the same thing allegedly with her nose. They were talking about getting a nose job, and she was afraid it would affect her singing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was an artist that talented, I would not touch a thing. I would just.
I know. That's why Bob Dylan looks the way he does.
Yeah. Oh, Bob.
It's also why he sounds the way he does, actually. So. See, there's an artist that grew on me like a good mold over time.
Okay.
Because I was a vocal guy, so like when I hear folk music, like you give me a Simon Garfunkel song, and I can get lost.
Yes,
I can get lost in Simon Garfunkel. You give me Paul Simon, Diamonds in the Soles of Her Shoes, and you get the African background, and you get the harmonies going, and it's just beauty, and you just like you don't even know where you are. You're just floating. That's what a song is.
Have you listened to El Condor Pass by Simon Garfunkel?
I'll have to check that one out as well. I'm sure I have, but
that's another one. Oh, so good.
And it's funny when you hear two people harmonize and it sounds like 8. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that's how good they are.
That's the cool thing about acoustic.
Another weird one this is where I would probably lose you, but Hanson, their harmonies are some of the best harmonies.
Okay.
And if you look them up, you can look them up. They do a live thing at the Sydney Opera House. They do Bee Gees. You Don't Get Too Much Love Anymore. They do it a cappella harmony. And it's like, because they're related. So it's like individually, they don't sing that great. There's only one of them that sings really well alone. But when the three of them get together, it's like they just complement, exactly match where the other one misses, Huh. It's just beautiful. beautiful.
That is awesome.
So vocals have always been my thing more than instrument, and I respect it. I just don't play an instrument or anything.
Are you interested in ever playing one?
I grew up playing the accordion and then a saxophone, but you can't sing and play sax, so that was tough.
That is true.
So I played a lot of instruments growing up, but none of them really caught. My issue with like guitar was like tuning. I was always afraid I'd be out of tune, and I'm like one of these anal like perfectionists. It has to be perfect for me to start.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could get through I'm not easygoing enough for that. I don't think.
Okay. That's fair. Scott, we were just talking
How
about
you guys?
You have a guitar in your background right there.
You know, I do, because
you go.
Will was getting mad at me. He's like, dude, your background has no music whatsoever. So I threw the guitar there. I am learning it though. I know 2 chords, not to brag.
Cool.
I don't remember what they're called,
Hey.
or it also takes me multiple attempts to find where to put my fingers. But you know, it's slow progress.
How are you learning? How are you Are you teaching yourself like YouTube videos or through?
I've
like
got
a tutorial?
one of my roommates who gave me the guitar. I guess I'm really just borrowing it. He learned guitar a long time ago, like when he was super young. He hasn't really retained much of it, but he gave me a book that he used to have, and every once in a while he'll come in and he'll be like, dude, stop doing homework. Let's just like learn this chord real quick. I'm like, okay.
Very cool. Yeah,
it's been
go on
fun.
YouTube, man. I'll tell you, there's like those cool YouTube ones where if you know like 4 piano chords, you can play like 80,000
Yes,
songs.
those are the ones I'm
You
trying
just
to get.
change
I'm just trying to find out the like 3 or 4 chords that are in everything, and then boom.
Yeah. And it's funny, the chord progression, one of the main ones, one of the most popular is Sexual Healing. Dum 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 dum. That's literally like so many. What's that Ed Sheeran song? I'll Be Loving You Till 70. That's sexual. That's when you mind. Yeah, it's exactly what that is. So when I get that dum dum. Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I started with alto sax as well, and then I played
okay, cool. Me too. That was mine.
Cool. Then I started with piano, and I just started learning guitar this week, and I play by ear, so I won't claim that I have perfect pitch, but it's darn close. So I can
good enough pitch.
I can hear a song and then figure it out relatively easily. My thing
I'm
is,
like you in that way.
Yeah. It's so fun to be able to do that. It kind of hurts when you're trying to learn musical theory, but everything else comes so naturally.
Well, why piano? Why guitar over piano? What would make you kind of pause on the piano part? Because that's, I mean, it's harder, but it's also like more fulfilling, I would think too. It's like that would be such an awesome.
I like the ability. So I can play piano pretty well. I know 10, 12 classical songs and quite a few. Same thing, you know, you learn a few chords, you can play whatever you want on the piano. But you can't bring a piano everywhere. You can bring a guitar in most places. So I like that aspect. I can just throw it in the car. If I want to go to the park, play guitar in the park, you know, sit at home, play the guitar. I'm at college, so I can't just bring a piano up here. And it's a fun skill to learn.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. I mean, and a lot it does cross over in some. Do you find a crossover there when you learning the guitar from?
You know, I thought the dexterity in my fingers from alto sax and piano would help with the guitar. Nothing. Oh my gosh, my fingers hurt.
That different? Yes.
Do you guys have those like cool little workout things that are like the little springs so you like strengthen your fingers?
Those. I do not.
Those things work real well. I would definitely recommend. You want to get the ones though you have to push in because remember you're pushing down on the string, you're not pulling away. So you don't want the webbed ones. You want the ones that like it's more of a machine that you actually pinch down on.
Huh. Interesting.
So, or like a stress ball even. That would anything that would because that's really where you lose it, right? Like is pushing the strings. That's why nylon strings are even harder and harder to push down and classical guitars.
I'll be interested to see how it goes. I enjoy it right now. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
Take it wherever you want, man. Take it wherever you want. That's what's great. Like I think for me, what it was is I'm lazy, so I think singing was easy. So I can do it anywhere. To your point, I can just literally up and sing. So I just really gravitated to that.
It's fair. Might as well.
And they didn't throw me out for doing it. I mean, I guess if they're like, shut up, then I'd be like, okay.
But nobody's
do you
going to
guys
do
know
that,
Gavin
right?
DeGraw, for example?
No, I've never heard.
Gavin DeGraw did a song. He did a couple songs.
Oh wait, the country singer?
Yeah, kind of a country singer. He did that One Tree Hill song. I don't know if you guys know that.
I'm blanking.
Anyway.
I like 90s
yeah.
90s country.
Oh, okay. 90s. Yeah, you said Alan Jackson was your first concert?
Alan was my first concert, yeah.
That's
Love
so
Alan,
cool.
George Strait, Tim McGraw, Jimmy Buffett.
My girlfriend's a huge Clint Black fan.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. And we actually saw the Eagles September 27th or 28th of 2019.
Okay.
At MGM Garden Grand Arena.
That would
It
be
was
fun.
that Hotel California.
Oh, was it pretty awesome?
It was the coolest thing, and it's funny because like it's allegedly their last tour, and they've done like 2 more tours since. It's like
yeah.
Anyway,
it's never their last
so
tour.
Hotel California, the Watchman comes out, and he's like got his like his what's that called, that trench coat, and he's got the hat on, and he walks out with the Hotel California 33, the vinyl.
That's
and
awesome.
He takes it out of the sleeve and he holds it up and he puts it down on the thing. And the second he hits the record, the music starts.
Wow.
It was so cool. And it was really cool because, do you guys know Hotel California at all? Are you guys familiar with the album?
Yes.
Okay. So, Wasted Time and then Wasted Time Reprise.
Yep.
So Wasted Time has orchestra, but they never really brought orchestra before. And my girlfriend told me, she's like a 20-piece shows up and they do Wasted Time, and you're just like, whoa, right? And then a girl, like a young woman, like blonde, young, like woman, skips. She's like wearing like a bellhop uniform. She skips to the album and she flips it over and does the same thing. It's kind of like cool. And then like just the reprise part. So they did the whole album front to back, just like you would off the album.
Oh, I love when bands tell their story through albums.
The concept albums.
Yeah.
Queensryche. Operation Mindcrime is probably one of the best storytelling albums of all time.
I think, do you like Electric Light Orchestra at all?
I'm familiar with them. So classic rock isn't my thing, only because it was more instrument than vocal.
Right, right.
But please understand, it's all awesome. So let's talk about it, man. ELO is awesome with their synthesizers and stuff.
Oh, so cool.
The Moog,
they
had the Moog, right? Weren't they big on the Moog and like all the different synthesizers?
Yes, yes. I think they kind of brought it to the table almost and made it more mainstream.
Yeah. There's a cool documentary about the Moog synthesizer. And really? I think ELO is like very much highlighted in that. Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to give it a watch.
You know what? Once again, these are things we'll have to listen to this and take some notes down, because I think we could probably do some stuff in the future. So
totally, would love to. But Time is an album that you listen from a start to finish, and it's a straight story with perfect transitions between every single song. And funny story about this. I think I was 13 or 14 years old. My dad offered a concert to me, and it was before Alan Jackson. So it would have been my first concert. It was in Evansville, Indiana. And I was like, I don't know. I got school I'd have to miss, whatever. And he said, well, it's just a bunch of old heads there anyway. You're not going to, it's all right. Don't worry about coming. Well, come to find out, when I start listening more to music, going to concerts, getting involved, it was Electric Light Orchestra, and I could have heard them on one of their last tours. I hope they go around again, but I missed out. Is
that the one that you would say you look back and missed, that you couldn't see live? I've got 2 of them, but is that one of the ones that you would say?
Yes. Every other concert, I think it's so much more worth it to spend the money and watch a concert in person every single time. So if there's a band I want to see, I pay the money and I go. And that is the one I wish I could have seen.
How about you, Scott? Any artist or band that you would have loved to see that you didn't get a chance to?
It's kind of depressing, but in high school, my favorite artist was Juice WRLD. So I think about that every once in a while, because I didn't think he was going to die so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Mine was Prince.
Prince?
Prince.
Yep.
Prince and Queen, actually. So my Prince story is crazy. Well, not crazy. It's stupid, actually. I was a degenerate gambler back in the day.
Okay.
So I live in Phoenix, which is about a 4.5-hour drive from Vegas.
Okay.
And back in the day, back in like the middle 2000s, like 2005 to 2010, I'd almost go monthly to Vegas. They comp me a room for the weekend.
Wow.
I go and play like in 48 hours, I'd play like 30 hours of poker, something like that. So I always went to the Rio, and Prince was always at the Rio. He had a thing called the 3121 Club. And 3 occasions I had chances. I'm like, should I get the tickets? I'm like, nah, I'll just see him next time. And the next time I go to pull the trigger, he canceled his residency and did like a 21 show, like religious retreat in London. He just like roamed the earth.
Huh.
And I missed out on it. And then after that, he never came back. And then he passed away. It's like, oh, like how many like I feel so dumb that like if you get a residency, how can you not see it? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I got to see Usher in a residency so far. That was cool. Up in Vegas. That was fun. That was a great show. He did the halftime show was pretty decent. It
was all right.
He did the roller skating a lot during his show too.
That was impressive. I thought the concept of his show was really cool. I just don't like. I don't think any performer has done a great job with sound or singing or actual like musical performance during the Super Bowl. Honestly, the best one I've seen recently was The Weeknd, and
Weeknd was good.
Coldplay. That was like 5-6 years ago, but Coldplay did a great job.
I thought even Katy Perry's like animatronic stuff was pretty amazing.
That was awesome.
That wasn't my thing. Like, honestly, Prince was still my favorite because, like, I watched that again. Like, I watch halftime shows again, and I try to, like, I don't want to rate. Like, that would be another podcast for you guys to do is rate the halftime shows. But
yeah,
like,
totally.
those are just fun like concepts to talk about. But like watching it in the rain while Purple Rain's going and the thing's flapping, and it's just like him with the silhouette. He freaking owned that. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen a guy 5'4" own something the way he owns something. You know what I mean? He's like a little Napoleon, but without actually using force. It's like with the Riz. He's got the Riz, man.
Oh,
he has the Riz before Riz was a thing.
Totally.
Like, seriously, like he just had it. And it's funny because, like, okay, so I talked to you about Howard Bloom, who was Michael Jackson's promoter.
Okay.
Music promoter. Well, he did bands like Joan Jett, and he also did Prince.
Okay.
So Howard Bloom wrote a book called Michael Jackson and Me, something like Einstein, Michael Jackson and Me. And that his book is a really good read. Or I do audiobooks because I don't read very well. But
right.
That's a really good listen, Howard Bloom. And I have those on my top 2 podcasts on my Rumble. I reposted them because somehow I didn't have them up there. So, but those are real good conversations. I had some really interesting Michael Jackson conversations because I had Taj Jackson on, who's Michael Jackson's nephew.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One of my early podcasts from August. I can even tell it's August something 2020, I think.
Huh. You know, Michael Jackson
almost 3-hour conversation.
Wow. I bet it was really interesting to hear where he came from and how his relationship was with Michael.
It was amazing.
It makes me think, and Scott and I have been discussing this quite a bit. Do you separate the art from the music, or the artist from the art, to be more specific? And Michael Jackson is one of those
guilty
artists.
first.
Yeah. True.
Because I'll talk about that part. Let's talk about 2 parts, right? One is, are these people truly the people that we paint them to be, or is it envy? Like, or is there a little bit of everything, right?
Right.
Like, Donald Trump did bad things, but the people who are going after him for doing bad things aren't good people who have also done bad things, who done the same bad things. So it's like the hypocrisy of that for me is an issue. I always worry about the hypocrisy, right?
Definitely.
So you gotta look at, one is, where's the envy coming from, or where's the attack coming from? And then 2 is it legit, right? And then 3 then becomes, to your point, do you separate the artist from the art?
Right.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So
I think, I don't know. It's always, honestly, completely changing all the time. I think sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. It's dependent on the situation. But I think the art came from the artist, and I still love the art, the music, even if maybe they did not so great things. They're still artistic, they're still human. Everybody's got their baggage, and their baggage it creates what there is. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think yes, I incorporate the art and the artist, but that doesn't mean I don't listen to people.
Yeah, so you give them you provide a little grace for that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. What about you, Scott? What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, it's so hard to put that into words.
No, we got a time, man. There's no time limit here. That's a beautiful.
I know.
It's like a baseball game.
Yeah.
There's baseball games never end. There's basically.
Neither do my podcast, man. It's like a time warp. You'd be surprised.
I mean, you don't, like Lee was saying, you don't have the art without the artist, and you've got every bad thing that artist ends up doing. Like, yes, it happened, but it wouldn't be happening. I guess it's like part of their genius is the fact that they're a little insane, and it's like the easy way out to say you should separate them, because like I want to continue to listen to Kanye or Michael Jackson or artists that have had, rough media portrayal, but like at the same time, do we hold them accountable? Like, should we stop listening to them and hope that they become better people, or better people do better, as far as artists go?
We just talked about something like this in one of my classes today, actually, about values. And we had a speaker come in. His name's Gary Bertolini. He was the dean of Polytech at Purdue. Look him up. He's a cool guy. But we talked about values and how there's a bell curve of the human value system. So you have to separate two things. You have values and then you have virtues. So values are things that anybody can have. You could have a value that like curiosity, and then you could have a value that's curious, and it depends how you use it too. So like if my value is curiosity and it's my curiosity is to do good, somebody else can have the curiosity to do bad. And then virtues are,
well, it's like Mr. Glass, right? It's like Unbreakable.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So then you have virtues, and those are the values that people desire. So the good things, and most people fall on the left skew of the bell curve. So two examples could be Mother Teresa would be on the left side of the curve, and then on the right side you have Vladimir Putin. So it's very interesting to look
what's funny?
at.
You'd be surprised that I put Mother Teresa more towards that side than you'd think.
Okay.
And I have a documentary that I'd be happy to share with you about that.
Would love to.
There's a guy named Christopher Hitchens. I don't know if you know who he is, but if you're familiar with Sam Harris at all,
no, these are new names.
Or Daniel Dennett, or Richard Dawkins, or anybody who they've been on Rogan and stuff.
Dawkins, yes.
Daniel Dennett,
Richard Dawkins. Okay, so Richard Dawkins, Harris, they've been on like Jordan Peterson type stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Hitchens is one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This is what he's affectionately called. He was actually an anti-theist. He actually was fought the God stuff.
Really?
He actually did a thing about how actually atrocious Mother Teresa is. And it's pretty compelling. And it's not, once again, it's funny to your point, humans are so diverse and we are both evil and amazing at the same time.
And I mean, everybody's values are relative. That's what I was getting at. So
yeah,
the guy that has a take that Mother Teresa maybe falls on the other side of the bell curve is different from maybe a take that I see. And I think that's so cool to implement into music, because maybe Michael Jackson had bad intentions on our end.
But good intentions.
Yes,
from his
good intentions from his perspective, right? Or vice versa. Right. So maybe we think Kanye is doing great and everybody else thinks he's not doing great, or he doesn't think he's doing great and we're thinking he's doing great. So I just find that so interesting how things can be so relative to each individual. Cool.
Yeah, so I have a million things to say about all those. So I have 808 and Heartbreak loaded on my Spotify right now. So
yes,
you got me there. Kevin
Good album.
Spacey's my absolute favorite actor, and if Unusual Suspects isn't like the greatest movie of all times, or Baby Driver, or anything
Baby Driver.
he's in,
Yes.
I mean, in anything he's in, and but I haven't watched a single Kevin Spacey movie. And that he just got off that one. I'm like oddly, creepily happy that he got off in England, because like almost justifies me to allow me to watch it again. But I'm an old school guy. So you guys are younger, ready? Your cancel culture is get on Twitter or get on X and shit post and just like
complain,
literally remove them from the conversation. Actively remove them.
And it's scary.
We didn't do that back in our day. The way we voted with our dollar, we just didn't support them. So we'd stop buying their product. Like the Bud Light was our cancel culture. That is an official original cancel culture. Literally just stop buying the thing and just no, like stop. So this is my initial Michael Jackson. I watched Leaving Neverland on HBO, and I don't want to bore you with it, but the podcast with Taj is absolutely amazing. And how it even came to be was just amazing. So I watched Leaving Neverland, and it got me to the point where I couldn't even have a relationship with my girlfriend for a couple of days. I felt disgusted. I felt absolutely, completely sick. Like I just felt like I had to take a shower. Like it wouldn't come off. Like it just stuck.
Yeah.
So that show was very compelling, but it was full of lies. So I get on Twitter and I saw somebody tweeting something about Michael Jackson. Now, my buddy, my best friend I did a podcast with, we did a podcast on the atrocities of the Catholic Church because his best friend was molested by a priest. And he got him $2 million settlement. We talk about that. We did like a 2-hour podcast on that. So clearly we're biased. I'm going in biased. I'm not afraid to say children. Like I have no children of my own, but children need to be protected. It's like the women and children. So one thing, it just baffles me that children aren't protected the way they should be.
Yeah.
So I watched that and I'm pretty disgusted. So this woman gets on Twitter and there's this thing called Square One, which is a different documentary. So she posts it and it's called Square One with Michael Jackson by a director named Danny Wu. So I immediately reach out to her. I go, hey, you should I'll watch your thing. Check out our podcast about the Catholic Church, because I'm thinking she's on the side of Michael Jackson being a predator, molester, whatever, right? I'm thinking that's what this is about. I thought it was a pile-on. Well, it turns out it debunks like almost everything in the original. And I'm without tuning my own horn, I have a very I have a very high number IQ. Like I can process information and I can be compelled to change my mind with data. It got me to change my mind. I mean, I am convinced now, looking the way they set up Michael Jackson, for example, in 1995, they put out a story. AJ Benza put out a story in the New York Times about Michael Jackson thing because Harvey Weinstein was about to get busted. You know Harvey Weinstein? 20 years before Harvey Weinstein got busted. And they were burying stories back then. So like, I believe that the oligopoly, I believe that the corporate uniparty, I believe that these entities are the ones pulling the strings. And I think he was actually a victim of that.
I totally agree.
In hindsight, this is not how I've thought going in. For me to change my mind, I have to be extremely compelled. So I can tell you that what I came across was highly compelled. Now, that all said, I think he's been attacked. Therefore, that's been attacked. Now, when I felt the way I felt, I could say this. Michael Jackson as a kid, I could listen to Jackson 5. He was a child. He was whatever was done to him, what we might think he did to others, what the allegations are. That was done to him. He was a victim. When he turns 18, he has a choice then. And that's what I separated. So I was able to separate the adult from the child, but we don't always have that. We don't always have that privilege because not everybody's a young superstar in music. Usually you come in as an adult, right? So for me, it is, I would actively not support it only for that fact is if that's what it is, it's just, I can't, so
yeah,
but I totally get, that yin and yang.
There's so many in and outs, hard to, that's why I think my opinion constantly changes,
Yeah.
because somebody
Here's the
brings a different
thought.
story.
Here's the thought about it too, is like, if it's somebody's political opinion, I can separate that. Cause like that's just what you think and what you feel. Like that's different.
Right.
We're talking actions. Like only actions would be the ones that I'd actually care about.
Yes. Okay.
But everything else we could separate. But here's an interesting thing is like you talked about artists and how they are a little different. Well, like what if the ideas are all there and you just need the antenna to get it? So like, yeah, you might not get that song today, but it might be there to be gotten later. And it's not to criticize the artist. They're still an amazing gift in getting it, right?
Mhm.
Right.
But I've had some personal experiences that are very like that, like epiphany, psychic things. So, those are things I'd share. I shared before, but basically I was talking with you, Lee. I was like midlife crisis. I went to see a therapist and I had a vision and
Okay.
it happened. And the vision was the shooting in South Carolina with Dylan Roof and
Really?
the pastor. Yeah.
Yes.
And it changed everything in my life. It just,
Dang.
like, I do weird things where I'll just say stuff and it happens. Like, but it's like not conscious. So like my whole thing knocked conscious was like, I was knocked conscious. Like literally had,
There
I
you
literally
go.
had an episode that like, and I don't know if that's what it is. I'm not saying that is, because I do think there's got to be creativity that other people wouldn't come up with, or it's all there and somehow we eventually pick it up with our antennas somehow.
Yeah, that's
What is muse? What is inspiration? What are these things?
that dives into like, I mean, what is life? What created a, like then you start getting into some existentialism and creationism, and which I love to talk about. I think it's super, super cool. And I think it totally connects to music almost every time, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, music is the expression of it.
Yes.
Music's probably the most clear communication because it adds inflection and sound to the voice, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really storytelling at its ultimate.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but you're doing something, like for instance, I was playing the guitar and then I just sat back and I looked at the guitar for a second. I was like, man, isn't this crazy? As humans, we literally just took this piece of wood, put some strings on it, cut a hole in the middle, or attached it to electricity over the years, and started singing. And it's like, and it makes me feel so happy and so connected to things and connected to other people. And I just find that so strange how we just started from scratch and got here somehow. And it makes us so happy.
Yeah. Do you ever walk through and like you hear like a wind and a wind chime and it just like puts a song in your head?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're just like whistling a song. You're like, where did that come? Like it just came out of nowhere.
Yes. That's I'm not gonna forget that now. The knocked conscious thing. It's gonna stick with me.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, long story short, it's basically like I was struggling. So I'm trying to protect other people, but still share, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to think of how to say it. But my midlife crisis, you know how some people hit like rock bottom? Like alcoholics, they go to Alcoholics Anonymous because they had like a major car crash and they almost died. I didn't set my bar that low. My bar was like, I'm like not interested in being around here that much. Like it doesn't feel right anymore. Like that was my bar. So as soon as I hit that bar, I was like, oh boy, I need to see some help because this is not going well. Cause like I'm really, it's kind of like, you know how people like live paycheck to paycheck, but like I have like $1,000, but like that's my zero. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just
right.
Yeah, your bar was slightly higher. Yeah.
Right. Cause like, God forbid, you don't want to hit rock bottom before you get help, anybody. If you're ever slipping, just if you recognize you're slipping, and if you see somebody who is, be a good friend and tell them to just try to get better, you know? But so I'm not into like, I didn't want to take pills and I didn't want to do psychiatry and stuff like that. So I went through neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. It's a little different. I don't know if you guys ever heard
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes through your subconscious. It's a little more like you go through meditations and you do like hypnosis and you kind of delve back into somewhat regression, somewhat not, depending on if you want to really pick the scabs or not, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not pick the scabs. I'm not sure where those scabs go, but they are pretty deep and they're pretty big. I just don't know where they go.
Yeah.
And I honestly have no clue what they are. Honestly, have no clue, but they're there. So a friend of mine had seen this person and she'd recommended me to him. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll talk to somebody, anybody. I'll talk to somebody. Let's see what can it hurt? It's like one of these introductory things, right? So I'm in the waiting room and he's got like this little room with like a chair and a sofa or whatever. And he sits in his chair and there's a little like love seat that I would sit in. So I go in the room and I look around the room and I just scan and I sit down and he looks at me and he cocks his head and he goes, "You're different." And like any midlife crisis 40-year-old who's felt different their whole life, like, duh, what do you tell somebody who feels different?
Right.
You tell them that they're different. So like that, he hooked me pretty hard, pretty early. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, he said the right thing.
Yeah.
And I just, waterworks for me. Cause like 40 years of like, yeah, I feel different. But I never understood any of it. So we do some therapy for a couple months and I'm starting to figure out and get, do whatever. And he goes, okay, we're going to do a meditation. First one. So the meditation is on a beach. He goes, you're on a beach and you reach your hand into the sand and you pull up a blue stone, a sapphire, and you look at it. And then you look up in the sky and you see this blue sky with a couple clouds and this eagle feather comes down from the sky. Kind of like, I would guess like what picture came to my head was Forrest Gump. The Forrest Gump feather.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I visualized it, right? Like, I'd never done this before. So like I have no idea what he's doing and I'm just trying to picture what he's going through. So he goes, there's these sheets of glass and they're spinning in the sky and on them there's images. And the thing turns. And you ever watch, like, you ever look at through a Christmas display, like through a window, watching TVs through a window, like looking into like a department store? Think of it like that's kind of what it looked like in the screen, like a TV screen looking through a window.
Okay.
And I see a black man in a suit behind a podium and he reaches to his right and then he reaches over to his left and then I see a pop, like a flash, like a gunshot. And I hear death or something. And I'm like in this middle of this thing and he's telling me like I'm just whatever. And I have this thing come to me and it's a Thursday. And I come out, I go, remember this 2015. And I'm like, I just saw Obama get shot. Like, it's the first thing that came to me because like I saw a black man in a suit. Your subconscious kind of fills in the gaps. Like, Obama's president in 2015. Like, who else would I? Like, it was really. I was like moved, like literally in tears leaving this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? He looks at me dead face and he goes, that either happened somewhere or it's gonna happen.
Oh God.
And I'm like, there's like I've never done any. I've never understood any of this. Like, and it's all new to me, right? So I come back the next Thursday and he sits down with me and I know nothing about anything. Now he goes down, he goes, so I don't know if you saw what happened yesterday, but blah, blah, blah. And he starts telling me this thing and he tells me that that's what I saw. And it was like, ding, like the ring, like the truth ring just hit me. And then I looked up a video once again. Like I have to vet everything because like I'm a very lucid person who's had a really crazy thing happen to them. No lie, I can't explain it. So in April of 2015, there's a video. He died in June or July, something like that. There's a video of him where he literally is behind a podium. He does this mannerism where he brings his hand to the right and left, and the hairs on my arm just automatically stood up. Like it's exactly what I saw.
Huh.
It's exactly it's like a mannerism he has. And when you watch it, it's weird. And it freaks me out. And after that, I've just had crazy things happen.
It definitely has to be frightening. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's...
I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. So I have a feeling I'd like to use a quantum entanglement theory, but it's a little bit what the bleep do we know? So it's a little vuji. It's not real.
Yeah.
If I may. But basically, say the Big Bang existed, right? So technically, every particle would be what's that called? Entangled, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If every particle came from one thing, I mean, I would assume everything's entangled, right?
Yeah.
So think about as cells grow and one of the atoms are entangled. What if some people have the ability to tunnel and be entangled into your memory through whatever through that entanglement, right? So I can connect to maybe your memory through the entanglement.
Oh, I think that's totally possible.
I don't know if you know this, but they actually were able to send a bitmap image through quantum entanglement from one image to another. Huh. So if that's possible, there's a guy named Roger Penrose who talks about quantum tunneling through the brain. That would be what my guess. And what that would lead me to believe is that there's an evolution happening, and some people have a little bit more than others. Just like some people have more height, and some people have, look at Billy Joel's piano playing ability, or whatever, right? Like some people have skills, and this just happens to be the thing that you get. The problem is it happened to someone like me, and that's not good because I don't understand it, and I can't accept it. Yeah. So like I struggle with it. So like here's an interesting one. So after that one happened, I was like freaked out. So I started going to meditation. I started going to different meditations and starting to figure out like what is wrong with me, like what the heck's going on. So I had another meditation and I had another vision, and it was at the end of a session with the guy, and I'm talking to him, and at the end of the session, I go, "Oh yeah, I had another meditation," and I go, "I saw this guy," and I can't say the guy's name because it would really be implicating because like the person is known, but I go, "I saw this guy," and my therapist is like deadpan. He doesn't ever move. He broke character. He did this like, and he looked at me and he goes, "What? You saw who?" I go, "Oh yeah, I was just had this vision that this guy popped in the corner. I thought it was actually this other guy, but that's who came across." And he like edges up at the edge of his seat and he looks at me and he's like, he goes, I was in the special forces in the military in Britain, and he was my commanding officer for the US, and I have my first kill under him or something. And we have a call tomorrow.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, you have a call tomorrow with this guy? Like, this guy's somebody you have to schedule a call with. This guy, you don't just pick up the phone and call. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this guy? And he's like, yeah. I go, that's what I saw.
Interesting.
And for him to be moved like that definitely spoke to something to me, So I've gone down the rabbit hole, and I've had a lot of experiences, and I do share a lot on other podcasts. So I'd hate to bore you with the same stuff, but
good.
Basically it's been a really crazy ride since like 2015ish or so.
Yeah. It sounds crazy. It sounds interesting. Sounds fun too. Maybe a little bit scary at times.
But everything.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And I still think
anyway.
Yeah, sorry. That was like a wow.
Yeah. So here's a cute one. If I'll give you fun ones. Here's like a cute one. So I'll share two. They're fun. I'm eating dinner with my girlfriend. We're out at a restaurant, and out of the blue, literally out of the blue, I'm like, I would not eat this with a goat. I would not eat this in a boat. And I start quoting like Cat in the Hat and stuff or something, right? Like Green Eggs and Ham. I think it was Green Eggs and Ham. I start quoting. She's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like it's like almost like it's weird because we talk simulation theory. Yeah. And the more I think about it, it is almost like someone hits a button and like inputs it. It like almost feels like, you know what I mean? It almost it's there, but it's not there. Yeah. It's like I kind of know it, but it's like not it's harmless. So I guess I can let it happen or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Huh. So we go to leave. We literally pull out of the restaurant and we go up to a red light. And there's a car that wants to pull out. So I let the car pull out in front of me. The license plate DRSEUSF. The whole back is littered with stickers of Dr. Seuss. And I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, see, like, it's just weird. Like, it's that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's only one license plate in the entire state that would have that license. There's only one that can be that license plate. Like, what would compel me to say 15 minutes beforehand, just quote Dr. Seuss out of the blue? You know what I mean? Like, and then they have this thing happen. So it's like, you got to reverse engineer. It's like, I knew that was happening, or something knew that was happening and told me to do that and put it in my head. It's the only thing I could think of. It's like, so
it's like, I've had that happen on smaller occurrences when my fiance and I will be in our own heads. Thank you very much. She'll have a song stuck in her head throughout the day, and then I'll have a song stuck in my head throughout the day. Have not played it or anything, haven't heard it or anything, have not been with each other, and then all of a sudden she starts like whistling it or something, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. I don't know, brain links or the quantum entanglement or on a different level. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how that happens.
And you could think about it that way too, because you could go like, maybe it is just more with some than others, right? So like everyone has the capability, but it's more pronounced between intimate partners, for example, than it would be between strangers, right?
Right.
And then if it is between strangers, maybe just someone has that ability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you ever pick up the phone? Like I work in sales, so I used to get phone calls all the time. So the phone rings, pick up the phone, guy starts talking, go, "Hey, John." He goes, "This is Bob, blah, blah, blah." I hang up the phone rings, and it's John. You know, it's like that when you're getting thousands of calls, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So
yeah.
Here's one. I was at a meditation with a psychic medium friend of mine, and we were doing a guided meditation. So we're supposed to see loved ones on the other side. Swear to God, this is the crazy. This is one of my craziest ones because it's like so odd. But guided meditations are like, you're walking through a field and you see this thing. And so you're trying to visualize everything, right? So we have this thing on and they're playing music and everyone's calm and quiet. And I'm sitting there and I got my eyes closed and I'm ready to meditate, everybody. So I'm ready to see my grandmom or, you know, somebody on the other side. I'm like, come on, this is going to be the day. I'm all excited. And I see a thin beer glass with a real thin gold rim. Like, you know, those real fine German glasses that have like a gold rim for beer, not a Stein, but like real fine glass. Yeah. I see that. And I see a pitcher of like wheat beer. And I see the pitcher pouring into it. And then I see this smelting ball. You know what a smelting ball is? You melt metal and you pour it into stuff.
Yeah.
It was a smelting ball with gold and they poured the gold into the beer.
Okay.
That's the vision I got. Swear, like the weirdest thing. So I see this glass of beer, this wheat beer, and then smelting gold pouring into the beer. And this is during a guided meditation to see someone who's passed on the other side. And I'm like, I can't even drink the beer. It's already been tainted by gold. Like, what is this going through my head, right? So I let everyone go first because like there's no way I'm sharing that like right away. So everyone goes first. So it's like an hour, like and it's like a fun group. We just thought, you know, everyone used to just get together and just talk and stuff. So we get around and I'm like, you know, everybody goes around and finally get to me. I go, okay, I didn't see any loved one. Yeah. Everybody's talking about seeing their aunt and their grandmother. And I'm like, I saw
missed out
beer. Yeah. Like I don't even understand whatever. Like I just felt stupid. You know, you feel dumb. You feel dumb when everybody sees stuff and you don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, and it really does play in your ego and it shouldn't. Cause like you have control. You think you have control over this stuff. Like there's no way. So it comes to my turn and I go, I don't know if this is for anybody, but this is what I saw. So I described the whole scene and everybody's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. And the psychic medium literally goes, I can validate that. She gets up and she walks out of the room. I'm like, what's going on? She comes back and she goes, I was dusting the kitchen table and the coffee table that were sitting around, and I wasn't sure which one we were going to use, but this is the stuff I used. And she plops down Scotch liquid gold.
Okay.
Oh.
And it's a furniture polish.
Oh.
And I'm like,
that's what you saw.
That's what I saw.
Huh.
But I have no idea. Like she knew it. Like she knew exactly what I was talking about, but really? I had no idea that she was doing
knowledge
that.
going into it. Yeah.
I had no idea. Like what? So is that like a lingered memory? Like, is that energy that I just picked up? Like, what
Yeah.
is that? Like, it's like not even precognition. It's like post-cognition. It's like I
Yeah.
figured out something she did without even knowing that she did it,
Yeah.
you know?
Huh.
So you got weird stuff that happens, man. It's like, I try to figure it out, but like, I'm the worst person because I don't like lean into it. Like I'm trying to debunk it, but I don't, the more I try to debunk it, the more real it feels. And that makes me feel crazier. You know?
Yes. Oh, I know what you're saying when you feel crazier. I've heard this quote quite a few times though. You got to be careful with knowledge that you don't have or you don't have access to. And that always gives me comfort. Just like, things happen. It's out of my control. And maybe it'll help me, maybe it won't. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah. So
Yes.
It's true. The thing, yeah, trust me. Yeah, like I said, I've gone a little bit down the political path and just trying to like uncovering the stuff that's, the strings, the forces behind the stuff
totally.
that we think is us. And it's just we've been lied to, It's like I grew up so American, man. Like, and I am 100% American, best country in the world. The greatest thing about this place is we can criticize it. We can still love it and still criticize it. So
yeah,
okay, there's
that's how we get better.
Right. It's how we get better. Right. So, but man, I came out of Iraq and I was all in. And just once that got exposed, and like I said, like I applied the Michael Jackson thing and watching how they use that in the media, and you apply that to how they apply it to the wars.
Yeah.
And it's like blueprint. And you're just like, you watch it and it's like everybody's using the same playbook. And now everything to me is like the Matrix. I see the code behind it. I don't see like what they show me. You know what I mean? I see the code.
Are you prior
Sometimes
service?
it gets disheartening. What's that?
Are you prior service?
I tried. I had a bad car accident when I was 13. I couldn't get in, but I did enlist and I just didn't pass the physical.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have definitely probably been in Iraq or done something with.
Yeah.
Yeah. After.
Cool.
But I have a lot of buddies that were in the Air Force and Army, obviously, being in Embry-Riddle. So,
yeah.
A lot of guys retired, flew like F-18s and stuff, like jet fighters and stuff. And it's like
A-10s,
so
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
And I have a buddy actually who I went to college with who was a part of the air refueler, like one of those KC-10
Oh
refuelers.
my gosh, those are awesome.
Had a UFO experience. And he's on that. He's on one of those UFO mysteries explained. I'll send you the one. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'd love to getting Lou Elizondo on the podcast. This close, because he was working with him, and I was like, oh,
got to try again, right?
Yeah, him or Corbell, right? I mean, I should drive. You know what I should do? I should email George Knapp and go, I'm driving up to Vegas. What are you doing up there? Let's hang out for a beer or something.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. So what other kind of interests you guys have with you just lit up with that. So it just made me think of like what other kind of stuff do you guys like? What are college kids into these days? What are you young falutin kids up to?
I was just talking to my fiance. Her name's Maggie. I've always been interested in Sasquatches, Bigfoot, for quite some time. This is something I have a strong interest in.
Did you ever have a thing that started it, like an encounter that triggered it, or something you thought you saw? What started that?
Well, what started it was just I'm a nature guy. I love to be outside. I have a strong interest in Native American culture, and I've been to a lot of the reservations, and I mean that's where a lot of that has spawned Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the stories revolving around that. So I grew up very interested and full believer that Sasquatch is a creature, is a bunch of creatures that live all over the world, and we just can't find them. Very elusive, right? But recently I heard the theory that Sasquatch is maybe not Sasquatch and it's just Bigfoot, just one animal or creature rather than a whole bunch. And that Bigfoot is connected to dimensional travel and space.
I can share Bigfoot dimensional stories with you. I had a buddy that I came across in my psychic days or whatever that said he saw a Bigfoot in a spacesuit once.
Really? See,
He
it
actually had
makes
Bigfoot in like a spacesuit on a ship. He said he was dimensional because he said he was astral projecting. I'm telling you what I heard.
it makes
man.
more sense to me because I don't know if you guys have seen. Scott just watched Interstellar for the first time. I know that within the past year, right?
Mhm.
And after watching that and reading the book, it makes more sense to me that Bigfoot would be interdimensional, and that's why so many different cultures have seen Bigfoot, and why we still are looking for the elusive Bigfoot. So I don't know. I'm exploring that more and more now.
Have you seen the Mosul orb, that little metal sphere that flew?
Yes, yes.
That has got to be some. I mean, if that's not overlaid, if that's just legit drone footage, I don't know what's more compelling. Like, what the hell's a pinball marble doing? Flying?
Seriously.
Like,
and
it
then
just makes no sense to me.
you see that, and then you hear the stories of 3 orbs that fly outside a lot of aircraft, especially military aircraft, and find people in the night.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff like
triangular
that.
ones.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's got to connect to the knocked conscious mindset as well, in my opinion. There's something where it all connects. Maybe Bigfoot's at the center. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can speak to my personal alien experience only from what I've been told. Like, I'm not, once again, I can only share what I've experienced. I can't share whether
Right.
it's real or not. Like,
Mhm.
I've never had a UFO experience, but I have had a past life regression,
Okay.
and I have had a medical reading that freaked a guy out to the point where he like literally freaked out. Like, and I didn't do anything. So I was, you guys know what like an empath is? You hear what empath, like the term empath, not empathetic, but like empath, like feeling, you can get the feelings off
okay.
others, and you can
Yes.
Yeah.
so there's like some website, like 27 traits of an empath or something. You could take this quiz and whatever. So you're looking, I like check like 25 of the boxes. So like in my early days, I was doing stupid stuff like that. Like I didn't know where to look. I had no idea what to do. This thing made no sense to me. So there was this empath train, like an empath group, like through a meetup. It was like $35 or something. I'm like, okay, I'll just go and I'll learn about what empaths are or whatever. They'll just tell me weird stuff. So I meet this guy and his wife. She does Reiki. You know what Reiki is? Like a Reiki master. And he's what's called a medical empath. So he can touch you and tell you what's wrong with you. He can like read your body.
That is
You've
awesome.
probably heard of those people before. Yeah. Really interesting guy. Mr. and Mrs. Faith, Emil Faith. With an E on the end, Faithe, and their daughter Amy, actually music. She's a new age artist. So if you look up Amy Faith, I think she was either nominated for a Grammy or maybe won a Grammy for new age music. It's really good. It's actually really surprisingly good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good and very like ethereal. So it's kind of like that. So I'm in this training and like it's 6 women and me. I'm like, really? Like, can like one other guy, can somebody else, some other man come in here?
Yeah.
So like everyone I go to, it's like 82 women and me. And like, I don't care. I'm not, obviously I'm not shame. I went to the darn thing, but like to see it shunned among men saddens me because I'm not a touchy feely dude, but we need to be more understanding of ourselves, not in touch. Like, it's not in touch, but just there's an understanding we need to get, So I'm in this empath thing and like he's telling us about all these different things, how some people more sensitive, like allergies and smells and senses. And you've heard people like stop and they hear sounds and they hear something. It's like, what did you just hear? And it's like dimensional almost, right? Somebody whisper in your ear and you're like, who just said that, And I've had those experiences. They're weird, but so I'm in this thing and like I'm emotional, so we're all crying. All of us are crying and we're pretty emotional about just getting in touch with our feelings for the most part. And he's like, oh, cool, we cut it early. So I'm going to do a quick medical reading. So I'll be able to sit in front of you. You put your hands in mine and I'll tell you what's wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. This is where I love to debunk people because I watch people like a hawk. I watch how they talk to you, what they say, how they say it. And I watch for like where they misspeak and like where the inconsistencies are. Cause like the cadence is off or something. Cause like the guy's a shyster. Come on. The guy's telling me what's wrong with my body by touching me. Come on, please get out of here. So anyway, so once again, I'm like ladies first. So I let all the women go and it's finally my turn at the end. And once again, I'm not even 6 maybe 6 months into this thing, and I don't know anything. I'm still very confused and just nothing. So I sit down, I have my hands out, and he goes and puts his hands in mine, and he goes, and he freaks out. Like he like backs up and he like jumps back. Now I watched him with the other 6 people, and he was just like, yeah, you have a kidney thing and you have a heart problem and you have a liver. And like, and then he's like, whatever. So like, I'm going in, I'm thinking he's going to tell me I'm type 2 diabetic and I've got blood sugar problems and I got lung issues. Like I did, but he just like freaks out. And I'm like looking around the room and everybody's looking and I'm like, I just broke the doctor. Like what did I just do? So the guy stops, he takes a sip of water, he composes, he goes, you have a lot of energy, man. And I'm like, okay, I'm from the East Coast. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just wondering, like, what's he trying to tell me, right? So he goes, okay. He tries to center himself. I put my hands out and I'm like, barely trying to touch him. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I? So I put my hands and he's like, okay, it's like dipping your toe in the hot water and then easing in kind of thing. So I ease in, he goes, okay. He goes, okay. You're homesick and your family misses you. And I'm like, duh. I'm like in Arizona. My family's in Philadelphia. Yeah, home's not that great. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'd wish it was better there. I kind of miss home. Yeah, I'm homesick. Yeah. He looks up at me deadpan. I swear to God. He looks at me, he shakes his head. He goes, no, your soul family. You're not from here. You're from Sirius. Swear to God, he says Sirius, the planet. He grabs my hands tightly, he shakes me, goes, it's okay, man. I am too. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
But like, ding, like, it's like, I'm home. Like, what? So I had to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, but then I like put these pieces together, right? Like, I have this thing where I have this thing. And so I have a past life regression where I'm this corporeal mist, non-corporeal mist, and I'm leaving and I'm getting pulled here to this life from there. And they're asking me, why are you coming here? And I'm like, they're making me, and I'm crying. And yet the recording got wonky. Like, I have the recording and it goes wonky right when I enter the dimension. I'll share it with you. I'm not going to lie. I swear to God, it's crazy.
Huh.
Can I share stuff on this?
Let me check. Let
me see if I can, because I want to hear some more about this stuff. But basically, like, I've had some crazy experiences that I'm trying to understand. But once again, if you can look at me and you can know that I'm like not crazy about them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm not all bought in.
Do you happen to have? Do you have the button on your screen that says present? I'm on the admin side, so I'm not 100% sure.
I'm going to pull it up here and let me see if I can actually pull it up. So I have it ready to share if you want, but I don't know if it'll work.
Oh yeah. If it works, totally. Would love to see it.
All right. Let's see. Can I share it? Where's it at? Present. Here we go. Let me try that. Yeah. There we go. I'll share screen. Okay. You ready? Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I cannot.
Can you hear that?
Unfortunately, no.
No? Darn it. All right. Might not work. All right. I had to close it. So anyway, I'll share it with you guys. But basically, okay. It's like a minute or two in, and they're like, you're going deeper and deeper into this world. And like, you were there, and all of a sudden the audio goes crazy.
Huh.
And it's like 2 hours of just crazy wonky audio.
Jeez. So, that would be something cool to do with you maybe on your podcast. We could talk more deeper into this kind of stuff. I'd be interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, let's talk more. What other kind of hobbies you guys have in addition to music? Or let's talk more music. I'm up for anything, man.
What do you got, Scott?
I like fantasy football. I realize that's such that's so shallow compared to what we've been talking about. But
no, when he says fantasy football and he likes it, no, this dude's like has it all organized and statted out, and He's one of those guys. It's not like just dink around on your phone. He goes to win.
I do spend every time the football season ends, it's like a drop off because I'm like, whoa, why is there so much time now?
Yeah.
On draft day, all right, you have your notepad out, don't you?
I come up with
even though it has nothing to do with your fantasy football team.
Absolutely nothing, but I got it. So
yeah, it's crazy. I had a previous life. Like when all this stuff happened, it kind of changed everything. Like football and sports are not what they used to be for me. But at one point I had up to 11 fantasy football teams in 1 year.
Wow.
I was a nerd. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a nerd. I did the same stuff, man. I had all of them. I mean, I remember just going through and being like, I know who to steal in this round, like the sleepers. And yeah, it's such a, you can get so into it. I mean, it's so crazy. And then you get lucky because you have an injury here and there. But if you're vigilant and you just pay attention, you generally do better than most people. You know?
I agree. I think luck's a big part of it, but you kind of use skill to, I don't know, leverage it.
Well, you protect your players with the way you draft too. Like there's a huge skill set. That's a really admirable thing because remember, you got people doing the same exact thing, have the same exact opportunity you do, and they didn't do what you did. So
exactly. It's like why
that tells you right there.
Feelings about the players or stuff like that.
I think honestly it's helped us starting our business, like Scott's ability to plan and have statistical knowledge, because I am not well versed in Excel or stats or how to progress on maybe not a knowledge level, more on a numbers level. I have the strategy mindset, but not the analytical mindset. And honestly, like fantasy football probably has taught you a lot of that.
It's definitely taught me a lot of Excel shortcuts and skills.
Yeah, and it's so useful. Cool. It's cool how those things cross over.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of the skills do cross over, right? Like you're gonna find like you probably have a lecture class that's gonna translate to your podcasting and your interviewing and everything, and how much this is gonna benefit some of your other stuff, like even your interpersonal social skills, your ability to walk up to a complete stranger and just absolutely start a conversation from nil.
We were out at IU at the bars 2 weeks ago, and we were trying to do on the street interviews because those are fun to do. You know, just get hot takes.
Those got to be fun, yeah.
And oh my gosh, I have never done anything like that. Like I am social. I like to talk to people at bars and stuff and get to know each other, but never walked up to somebody blatantly and said, hey, can I get your opinion for X amount of minutes? And I'm going to post it online. Super nerve-wracking, and it worked. And it was so much fun. I want to do it again and again and again. Just sparked my motivation and interest. So
that seems like it would be totally something to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the build up to it too was we were like waiting in line and Lee's like, okay, we're just going to interview these people. And then we're kind of like looking around like, all right, here we go. We're going to interview them. And just wanted to interview. And then finally Lee went off and started talking to them. And it was, I mean, I'd say it went pretty well. You're good at like bouncing off their ideas. So
yeah,
I loved it.
How many times did you say it before you actually pulled the trigger for you?
I mean, that night alone, it was a long time. Like, I feel like we're standing in that line for a good 5-10 minutes before you got the courage to ask your fiance to interview. So like, it was definitely a long process.
And it's weird because like I'll say I like to jump into things. And I mean, Scott, anytime Scott and I are doing a podcast, I'm like, nope, we don't need to do a run through. We're just doing it. But like, as soon as we jumped into it there, I was like, oh, I pumped the brakes, back off for a second. And then, I don't know, you just got to build yourself up sometimes. How did you
did it, right?
Yeah. And now look at us now, you know, we're talking we just met you today, and that's awesome. Like,
hey, to use a Grateful Dead statement, friends are just strangers you haven't, or a stranger just friends you haven't met yet. That's a Jerry Garcia.
Yes. Actually, one of our good buddies, Avery, I'm pretty sure he has that quote in his room right now. Very good quote. Yeah, I mean, networking is awesome and interpersonal skills awesome. How did your first set of podcasts go?
My first one was an individual, and why I'm starting this podcast
Okay.
And it is the worst 20 minutes of anyone's life.
Oh,
I
I
wouldn't
was
recommend
listening
anyone
through
ever
it.
watch that.
Were you listening
I
to it,
hate
listened
Scott?
to 14 minutes of it, and I think you have a good podcast voice. I think you got
Oh,
that going
thank
for you
you.
in that one.
Yeah, the content's shit, but his voice is good.
But yeah, but voice was all right. So
Well, thank you. That's kind, but you got through 14 of the 20 minutes. That's more than most do. But I know that I need to transition to some monologue stuff, and I am stuck. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really
Do
stuck.
you? I mean,
I
why
feel
do you
it's
think you need to? Because
I don't feel comfortable with it because I feel comfortable. I feel better with energy with people. So
yeah.
I know it feels more preachery with someone in the room, but I do feel it's more interactive than it is preachery. I feel like it's a lecture, very preachy when it's just me and a camera. And
Okay.
I'm not here to share information like that. I'm here to share ideas with people, I think.
Yes.
So I think my way of talking. So if you look at my interviews generally, there's a couple where you can see there's just, you never know who you're going to interact with.
Right.
Like there's some where it's just the energy's a little off and then it clicks and then, oh my God, then you're in the groove. There's some
Yeah.
that never get there. There's some that are there that get off the groove, get back on. Like you can watch it. And it's fun to watch some conversations go like that. But for the most part, I think like you, Lee, I think it's just, I'm here. Tell me about you. I want to learn everything.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I'm infinitely curious about the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hope that's what translates through. And I think people do want to share when you ask.
100%.
Completely agree. I mean, we're here to learn. One of the first things Scott and I talked about was it was based around music, but we don't know anything. You think you
At
know
all.
what you're talking about, and you
Nothing.
nothing.
Like
nothing.
topic wise?
No, I mean topic
Or just
just in general.
Yeah,
like,
give me an example.
Dude, we were
I
talking
think
about Fleetwood Mac, and we forgot who any of the band members were. We're like, how did Fleetwood Mac get that name?
now was that poor planning, or was that the fact that we actually blanked? But I mean, I listened to a ton of Fleetwood Mac, and Scott generally listens to a ton of Fleetwood Mac too, and I talk about it constantly. I've been listening to it since I was like freaking 10 years old even, and you think you know a lot about a subject, and then until you start talking about it, you truly don't. So
That
the
is
podcast
100% true.
the podcast has been so much fun learning about ourselves, about music and other topics. And then like, this is going to be so much fun getting to know people. I mean, off to a great start, and
Yeah, absolutely. You
it's
guys are
exciting.
awesome. Yeah, and I can tell you guys are going to do really well with this, and it's a lot of fun. And that's what it is, just the interaction of the, between people. But like to your point, I mean, you're gonna blank, but I like the long format.
Do you? Yeah.
I like the conversation because let me mess up my speech. Let me misspeak so we can fix it now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to edit out that I said something stupid. I'll keep it in because I know that we'll work it out. Someone will correct me along the way. And like, I'm one of these people. I'm a long format free speech advocate because of the fact is we're gonna screw up what we say to each other. And we can't, like, how can I understand where you're coming from until I know where we split, like where exactly we diverted ideas or whatever. So I'll take anyone with any idea, even if I wholeheartedly disagree with them. Like Howard Bloom's a really good example. I've had him on the podcast 3 or 4 times. I'm anti-war. Let me just put it that I'd like less people to die in the world, and I think we can do a good job of helping do that, but we're not.
Totally.
So that's my stance. Now, he happens to be a Jewish man who believes that X amount of people are out to get him. And since they're all out to get him, the idea must be that he's got to get them first. I mean, that I let that man speak that. Do I agree with that? Is that exactly what he said? No, but that's where you come to as a conclusion. But like, I let the man express that because I need to know where he's at. Because if we need to have a conversation about that, we need to bridge that, whatever that gap is. And if I don't know where you're at, or if I assume it wrong, we're never going to fix the problems between us.
It's nice to hear that there are more people in this world that have platforms and want to have platforms for that kind of speech, because I feel like everywhere we go now, or like for instance, we're on TikTok. That's where we get a lot of our views and traction.
The one place I'm not.
That's a good
highly
place not to
recommend.
be.
Well, it's a China thing. It's a
Brutal.
personal China thing. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with their right to exist.
No, that's fair.
They're a company, so.
But we got like three posts now, I think, that have been taken off TikTok almost instantly, just because of like words we've said or ideas we've put out there, and it's just like, is that really the direction we want to move as a world?
Right.
Freedom of speech, censorship. I don't know. Like, maybe it'll be better. I don't think so at all. I think we need to be able to speak our mind, and that's how we get progress. But it's scary, and I'm glad there are more people out there that have the platforms to think freely and talk freely.
What I'm finding interestingly, data wise, is like a little divide between male and female in your age gap. Males, they say conservative, but it's really not. I mean, the tenets of free speech are actually liberal ideas, and I'm actually conservative. I come from a conservative mindset. I mean, my grandfather was a Nazi soldier, and my other grandfather was in the Nazi party because they had to be. My father was born in 1940, my mom in 44, both Germany. After that, my mother's side, they decided to make East Germany, so communism. So they went from fascism under Hitler to communism under Stalin, to escaping East Germany, and then coming to America, getting sponsored by someone they never heard of. Like meeting my dad here, who came here on his own, who walked hand in hand with his family from Hamburg to Berlin while bombs were dropping down on them. One of the siblings died of malnutrition. Like, I come from a really weird place, like of weird ideologies that experience all of it. I mean, how many people had Hitler and Stalin had both of them in their direct history from their parents? You know what I mean? My mom was under Hitler and Stalin at one point in her life. That's like a weird thing.
That is weird.
Yeah.
So like, to hear that's crazy, right? So like, I came from a very conservative side, but I'm the liberal mind. I was always a free speech guy, and I always thought it was a free speech thing, but conservatives just want to censor in different ways.
Yeah.
So the truth is, the people in power just want to keep their power, and that's unfortunately the human part of it. So what I say is, we have to all say it, because when the shoe's on the other foot, they're going to take it from you, and I don't want it taken from me. So I'll happily give it to you and let me have mine.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the more people talk, the more we realize that a lot of us sit in the middle, of different mindsets, different ideologies. Everybody's got something the more we talk, the more opinions we bring, the more we connect, and there is a middle ground. So I think that's a cool part of it too.
Yeah. And I'm fascinated by your story, Lee. You have a fiance.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? And congratulations. I don't even know that that's a thing anymore. Like, does that happen? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, because no one gets married anymore, kind of like in a bad joke kind of thing. But how did you get into such a commitment in such a way? I'm not judging it. I'm curious how you got there. Like, how did you see the world that way? How did you meet your lobster, man? That's awesome.
So we met my freshman year of college. She was a sophomore at the time. And we just happened to go to a concert together. Like, somebody had an extra ticket on her end. I had an extra ticket on my end. We ended up at a Lee Brice concert.
Lee Brice. I know Lee Brice.
Yeah. And it was super small venue. Honestly, like, there's no pictures or videos or anything. Very natural, which was cool. And then I asked her on a date after. She turned me down. Now there's video evidence of this. Perfect. She'll never be able to pull that one on me again. Waited a whole year for her to talk to me again. And then eventually we started talking again, and it was like, I think actually Scott was probably one of the first people I told. I was like, I found this person that is unlike any other person, is my best friend, and I just know I want to do every bit of life with her, and that's that. I mean, I it's the weirdest feeling. It's kind of it's that feeling you don't know where it comes from or why it's there, but it happened, and I know it's not wrong. It's very right, and I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that's coming. So,
I'm
and
excited for you, man.
people have that happen at different times in their life. Some people have it happen when they're. My great grandmother is a great example of this. She had the opportunity to have two very great men in her life, but she met one of the coolest people that she wanted to spend the end of her days with in her 80s, and she lived till she was 99. And that,
Oh, wow.
sometimes it happens for people early in their life, and
Yeah.
sometimes it happens late in life. Sometimes it happens a few times, but I don't know. I know this is Maggie's my person. I'm very excited. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah,
I
cool.
love to talk about her. So
I want to hear about it, man. Well, it's
yeah.
like that's what this is really all about. I mean, the whole point about this is connection, to be honest. I don't feel very connected with people like let me put it this way. I feel so connected to everything that I feel like I have to break my connection with people. Like it's an odd, I can't explain it, but it's like this is the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
Because like what would love to see is someone come across this video and hear that and be like, cool, you know what? I'm gonna give my fiance a call right now because like I'm thinking about her because this came up.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, let's put you in the hot seat for what's dating life like as a college person in crazy left Standisville. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm ready to hear this one. Scott never talks about this kind of stuff.
Are you okay sharing? I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't want to embarrass you, but if you're open to talk about it, like from like a legit, like a logical, like introspective, experimental, social, scientific mindset, not like a bitch fest. I want to learn from you. Teach me what it's like in college.
I mean, yeah, I could knock some consciousness into you. So, essentially, I mean,
That sounded dirtier than I wanted that to sound.
Yeah, I just we might.
You shouldn't have said that. Anyway,
I regret it. It's only gonna go downhill from here. There's a lot of pretty women at IU in Bloomington. I know it's like, I think it's stereotypically just all the, what is it? A Purdue 10 is an IU 6, I believe, is one of the common phrases that the women at IU are a lot prettier.
All right. Is that why you went there?
No,
Is that why you went there?
I wanted to major in business, so I also like the color red. It was about 50-50.
Okay.
There you go. But yeah, I've had the privilege of being able to, I lifeguard, so I work with a couple of them, and I don't know, I'm realizing this is also being recorded, so I mean,
yeah, we're not here to kiss and tell, man. I'm just curious, like,
no,
like is it pretty easy to interrelate? Like, is it easy for boys and girls to get together, like to men and women to talk to
like
each other?
how is socializing even?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big thing. Like, I believe this goes outside of Bloomington, outside of IU.
Right, that's the point. Is I think I'm asking culturally because you guys both go to two different colleges, so you're giving me a broader, sample size.
It's like it, and I was talking about this with my roommate. I feel like there's been less of a drive for young men to sort of make that first move, and I'm included in this population. It's like the motivation's not there, and then you don't have the confidence, and then nothing ever happens. And you go home at the end of the day, and you're like, well, there's always tomorrow. And then it's just this cycle of, you just got a bunch of single dudes who are complaining because they don't have a girlfriend, and then a bunch of single girls who are complaining because they don't have a boyfriend. And I think that's pretty universal. I don't know if that's how it is at Purdue, but a lot of inaction in IU.
I think a big part of this is social media, and like for instance, when I first got to college, I was mingling with a lot of freshmen, not just making friends generally. Everybody instantly asks, "What's your Snapchat? What's your Instagram?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't have any of those. I have a phone number, and I use Facebook occasionally." And it's like, as soon as I said that, people would turn away and not talk to me anymore. And I was very quick, like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go home now." So like, your confidence drops, your motivation drops. Like, you don't want to go try again. And honestly, I think people that don't use social media as often are in the right. Like, that's how I met Maggie. I met her very naturally and was in the right spot at the right time. Gave it a chance. Didn't work out at first. Came right back, and it happened. But like, and Scott's another guy that doesn't use social media, and it's hard. It's hard to do that when the whole world functions on that. And
Yes.
yeah.
I commend you guys for kind of trying to at least stick to yourselves. I'm not saying that you guys are digging your heels. It's just not. It's not how you feel about it. Like it's kind of like you're not anti it. It's just not for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? And that's cool. Like that's cool that you can live your life like that. And I admire that. It's not like you're going out going, it's so evil. Whatever. It is what it is, right? But you're just like not part of that. But that's got to be frustrating that you get kind of almost like insta shunned, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I heard this thing called Snap Maps. I heard like this thing called Snap Maps, so everybody knows where everybody is. And
always.
There's no way on God's green earth I'd even give that to my girlfriend. And she lives with me. We sleep together. There's no way.
It is a scary concept.
Nothing. Like it's interesting because what we've noticed, like we've seen trends, right? Like I don't know what you guys feel politically or anything, but we just talk general trends. And the general trend growing up for us was like, we got to do our own stuff because like no one's there to help us. We only got ourselves and our family and stuff. We got to really help each other out. And then as the government got bigger and bigger, we're almost like letting the government be our parent instead of it being our child. And I don't care what ideology you have. I think that's just dangerous regardless of what you believe. Anything treating someone outside of you greater than you to run you, to tell you what to do, it's not fun. So like I'm just one of those people. So I watch this change, but I watch this privacy thing. Young people do not understand what privacy is. Now I live what I would like to consider a pretty outgoing life. That doesn't mean I have to flaunt it everywhere. It's still my choice to share it with you. You know what I mean? Right. It doesn't have to automatically be part of my screen. Doesn't have to be on 24/7. George Orwell. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's pretty crazy what we've culturally, and it's a group of people that culturally put this in our brains to allow this, which is bad in its own right. We don't even know that we allowed ourselves to get brainwashed to say no privacy is okay in our life. Right. No privacy should be nothing but privacy. You know what I mean? And then we should share what we want to share. But now with this world, it's so open. It's like inverse, you know?
Yeah. It is interesting to see that we, as a culture, kind of dug our own hole. We're still trying to claw out of it, yet we dig the hole deeper, I think. But
so motivation wise, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
Oh no, go ahead. I was going to ask about you and your girlfriend. How'd you guys meet?
I was gonna, if I may finish up with Scott, I'd just love to hear some more about this because I'm just really curious. Because
totally,
the motivation thing, like, where's the motivation? Is it when you say motivation is like the effort, the reward's not worth the risk? Is that kind of the motivation? Like, it's really not worth it in the end? Is that kind of where you don't even start, or is it really the fear of the rejection more? Is it which
I mean,
one's
it
kind of guiding
sounds. I think. Oh man, I have this like. I don't even know what to talk about here. Okay, I'm pretty sure that.
Don't feel talk about your person. Like, you don't talk about any specific relationship.
It's not personal. It's like I think it's a huge problem, and so I was talking about it. Porn. I'm pretty sure that the majority of like young men, probably in the 90%, the reason they're not making that move is because at the end of the day they get to go home and they can look at whatever they want for as long as they'd like, and it's like that's why the motivation isn't there, because you've got something better at home for free
And there's no risk.
unlimited.
It's easy.
No
it's
risk at all. You're not risking rejection. So yeah, I think that's the main contributor to the lack of motivation nowadays.
That's probably one of the best points of this entire podcast that you just made right there. So
I have to
how
say
did you come
Idling.
across? Let's call it that. No porn.
Yeah.
How did you? What made you like? Did you come up with this your thought, or have you been watching people talk about it, or what made you kind of come up with this thought?
It's this
'Cause
really
that is, just so you know,
interesting.
that's one of the prevailing things that's being talked about, is like specifically porn and how it's
Oh, yeah.
affecting interpersonal relationships. So if you came up with this on your, like, kudos for like kind of uncovering that yourself, you know.
I have a friend named Grayson, and I don't know if you were there, Lee, when we were at the lake house,
the summer.
but we watched a video about this prince who he would win. So he was like this super good looking, strong prince back in the day. And he'd win all of his duels, and he'd get all the ladies at the end of the day. Well, then one day he got this magical mirror, and the mirror basically gave him anything he wanted. So he could
Yes, I
just
remember you
ask the
talking about
mirror
this
to
now.
see whatever he wanted. And you maybe see where this is going. And so the big thing I remember was he could just look at women all the time. And at first it wasn't a problem. And then he'd walk past the women in the village and they'd be flirting with him, and he'd be like, "No, I'm gonna go to my mirror," pretty much is what he was saying. And then he lost that motivation. And then I think the end of the story was he just got super depressed and just lonely, because he had all he ever wanted, but did he actually have it? And I think that's the problem that
Right.
a lot of us have, a lot of young men
Yeah.
have nowadays.
Yeah. And then he shattered the glass and slit his wrist, and it was over.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very depressing ending.
Really depressing ending. Yeah, I totally get it. It's a good point. It does seem like that's a big challenge, is that ease of getting there. And to your point, Lee, you were talking about meeting organically. 100% higher probability of two people who connect organically will make it better than two people connect online first. And I can tell you, there's like this unknown pheromone, something between two people. There's some energy, something that you can't quantify until you meet.
Yeah,
And if you meet
totally
naturally and have it, it's there. That's how you actually get attracted. So it's like part of the attraction. You don't get that online.
right.
You get the intellect, you get like wit, you get some kind of facade of somebody. But when you meet, it's a whole new ballgame. It's totally different. So.
Yeah, I think it brings out the natural instinct of humans, like what we are built to do, rather than like we were never intended to have a phone to meet our partner, our mate. And that's
right.
Yeah, there's something cool about organically meeting and bringing out that what humans were intended to be. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's an
well, thanks
interesting,
for sharing,
interesting
Scott,
topic.
about that.
Of course.
I think that might be its own podcast. It might be something we should look into, because I am very concerned about the plight of, like, you hear the male toxicity stuff, and it is true. It's like, we're not the boys that boys are,
Right.
Maybe we are now because the ones that had kids were the boys that we were, like, grown up. But like, and the ones that didn't have kids were the ones that stayed, like, don't have kids, right? There's like that ideology of, I'm not doing that. So it's interesting how that is. That'd be its own conversation. But well, thanks for sharing about some of the interpersonal stuff. I'm really that's really an epiphany there about the ease of access to, without the risk of, the nagging or the other energy stuff. Like, if it's just about that pleasure and you can scratch it easy and you get 70% of it, maybe it's easier than dealing with the other 30% to get the 100% of love.
Right.
It's something to definitely, I think we need to address, because I think we're having more of these things where you're not crossing the aisle to say hi to the other people. And it doesn't, once again, like, it's not even between boy, girl. We're talking even interpersonally, right? Even same sex, having the courage to talk to someone you are attracted to or something, or be able to be human with them. And
I mean, we were talking about on the street interviews earlier. Like, I think that's even a contributor to why that's uncomfortable now. As a society, we've changed, and like part of it is like new experience, haven't done it before, a little bit of nerves, want it to go well. But I think another big part of it is the disconnect in interpersonal relationships, romantic or platonic.
Yeah, you never know what side of the aisle somebody's on when you talk to them. Everybody's got their guard up a little bit, ready to start a fight, almost a little tense. And
yeah,
really interesting.